Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Expert Academy live streams. This is the first episode in a series of live streams over the full week where we're going to focus on how to best prepare your marketing for Christmas and Black Friday. This week is really filled up with some great content to help prepare your marketing in the best possible way through all of our product solutions. Tomorrow, we'll go into details on driving the traffic into your stores with Google's omnichannel solutions. Wednesday, we'll talk a lot about YouTube and discovery, how those two best work together to power your upper and mid funnel activities. Thursday, we're going to go into mobile and app strategies to make sure that you have the best possible setup there, specifically focusing on the app strategies that you want to implement. And on Friday, we're going to go into shopping ads and how you can best set that up, and also in general prepare for these peaks. But today is the most exciting day. We're going to be talking about Black Friday and Christmas and why those two are so important in your marketing setup and what you need to prepare in order to fully optimize these holidays. My name is Matthias, and I consult the largest finance clients on the Danish market, and I'll be your co-host for today. With me today, I have two specialists in the room. I have Nina on the left side, Nima on the right side. This is a little bit tricky, but we're going to try to stick with the correct names throughout this. But guys, would you please introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Sure, yeah. I can kick it off. So I'm Nima, and I work with the large customers in Northern Europe as a search specialist. And I primarily focus on performance optimization, such as Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holidays, and smart bidding in general.
And I'm Nina. I have been working at Google for 6 years now. In the last year, working with display in the Nordics, and before that, working with large advertisers in Brazil.
Cool. So just a little bit before we dive into it, this session is set up. This session is recorded. So if you have any questions, we have a live Q&A where we'll be answering it in real time below this, and our specialists will also answer in real time. But that is all the practical information from my side. I'm gonna give you guys the word to take us through the content of the day.
Thank you so much, Matthias. Okay, so let's get started. To set things off, I just want to set the scene. Because it's not, before we talk about like how to prepare, I think it's important to think about what is it that we're preparing for, right? What is it that people are how are they gonna behave? How are they gonna search in the near future? So just to set the scene, it is important that in everything you do and in everything we do, that we focus on the customer. And the consumers really expect a lot from us, right? They know what they want it instantly, they want it effortlessly. So there's three main pillars that I want to just touch upon before we dive into the products and the solutions we have here. One of them is that consumers are curious, more curious than before. It used to be that, at least when I was a kid, back in the days, that if there's a CD that was released, I would just run down to the local CD store and I'll just buy that CD. That's it. I wouldn't have done much research. I wouldn't have looked for the cheapest price or the best offers and so forth. But today, things have changed drastically since then. People search, they do a lot of research, they're curious. We can see that 15% of all the searches that are done every year are new. We can see that mobile searches has increased as well. Like, people are looking for like where to buy things and also looking for ideas. And that is like a huge opportunity to create something or move more mid-funnel, upper funnel, and think about how can I inspire my customers and drive actions later down the road. So one thing that's important to keep in mind is consumers today are curious, right? And that's an opportunity for everyone, including us. The next thing is that the consumers are self-centered. If you remember my example, I would just run down to the local CD store because that was the only possibility I had. But what we see now is that even though people know where they're going to buy their goods or services or products or whatever it might be, if they're presented with information in the research from another retailer or from another store, another company, 66% actually end up buying something with a different retailer. And that only goes to show how important it is that we really think about when the consumers are in the curious stage, how we can influence them. Because if you don't do this, I'll bet that your competitors or other companies, they'll do it. And we can see that there's not always that brand loyalty that we think there is. And another thing is just like things such as like free delivery and the possibility to return. Those things are growing 100% since last holiday season. It's just things that we need to compete on today. The last thing is that people want things immediately. Not only for Christmas sales, I myself, I'm not always good at buying the Christmas in good time, but some are. But for all of us that might not be buying the Christmas presents a month in advance, it's absolutely crucial that we have same day shipping, and also for other consumers as well. So same day shipping, the possibility to pick up things in store on the day, that's really, really important. So just to sum it up, what is it that we're actually preparing for? Like, we are preparing for a huge spike in consumers and in searches, and there's like people are curious, they want to learn, they want to discover new things. People are really not, they're looking for the best solution, the most valuable information they can get out there, and they want it right now. So we need to make sure that they can get their presents, if it's presents, or they can buy the goods or products or services that they want immediately. So now that I set the scene, I just want to pass it on to Nina, who will talk a little about branding and performance.
Yeah, so I think that to sum up what you were saying, you were talking about a consumer that is curious, self-centered, immediatist. So we are talking about the super empowered consumer. And to plan and to execute for this consumer is key for your strategy to be successful. So basically what I used to say is that if you're only working on your brand or on your branding strategy, you're losing the opportunity to capture the demand you are creating. So imagine that you're only talking about your brand or releasing the products. Of course that users and consumers, they will be looking for it afterwards. So if you're only doing that and not capturing or getting prepared to get this demand, new demand, you're losing this opportunity. And on the other hand, if you're only working or only planning and executing performance, you are also losing the opportunity to create more demand, to create new demand for this product that you are or service that you have your performance strategy upon. And furthermore, if you're planning both performance and branding, but you're still doing that in silos or in a separate way, you're doing it wrong. I know that we are all the time talking about the full funnel, all the time talking about how we can combine it. And the only reason why we should do that is, again, going back to what Nima was saying, because we are talking about a super empowered consumer, and we are talking about ourselves. So, for example, think about your journey today with your phone or with your interactions on the internet. I woke up with my phone already on my hand because of the alarm clock. While I was showering, I was listening to music, then I checked the weather, then I did a web check-in because I'm flying later today. So all the time we are online. There's actually this sentence that I like a lot that says, we don't go online anymore, we are online all the time. But the way we are online is super diverse. So how do we make sure that we are present, but also we are planning how to be there in a very beneficial way, okay? So this is the first message. How do we understand this consumer, but also how do we plan for this consumer? And then before we deep dive into the products and we show you how you can tackle down this demand, this growing demand for Black Friday, I just want to take a step back to talk a little bit about why is this important from a consumer perspective. So we are Google, we love data, and I want to share a couple of stats with you. So when we look at a consumer perspective, we know that a user is 2.1 times more likely to consider a brand whenever they have spent time with it. On top of that, think that 96% of the user time is spent browsing and discovering on the internet. So 4% is spent on active search, 96% is spent on YouTube, checking emails, reading news, Now, just a disclaimer here, I'm not saying that the 4% of the time that is spent on search is not important. On the opposite, this is the time that the user is looking specifically for your product, for your service, or your brand. But also, let's think about this time when the user is searching, is discovering new stuff, okay? Also, what I think is super interesting to mention is that 53% of the people, when they buy something, they already intend to buy something. So it also shows how they are prepared to do it. Again, how you need to be there to be considered, to whenever the user is making the decision, the user has your brand or your product in mind. Now, you can call it share of mind. Because I'm Brazilian, I call it share of heart. So the main message here is the consumer needs to spend time with your brand in order to consider it. So be present, okay, from a consumer perspective. Now, from a business perspective, because of course your business is also key to us, it's super important to be there for many, many reasons. To start with, I want to start saying that 62% of offline sales are digitally influenced. So again, from a business perspective, it's important for you to be there, to be present, not only for the digital sales, but also to all of these omni-channel sales that are happening. I know we have a session about it, so I won't deep dive into that. I'm just gonna drop the stats for you to think about that. But also because we have seen so many changes on the landscape. Right now we are talking and we are planning to maybe a cookieless world on the internet. So how do you take advantage of these changes and you start prepare for your first party data audience strategy? Literally, how do you start thinking about the holistic strategy or the full funnel strategy? By also capitalizing and connecting all the dots of this funnel based on your first party data. So this is also something super interesting, super important that we will be mentioning across the presentation today. And well, because search happens at all time, so we have here as well a couple of numbers, and we know that 48% of the searches related to the holiday season happens within a week from the date. So Nima, you said that you're not good at holiday shopping. Maybe you are part of that 48%, but the majority of the searches still happening over the weeks or 6 months before that. So even though we do have a different concentration of the searches, the message here is very clear. Searches, they are happening at all the time. And to be honest, searches, they are a big insights lab for you, right? So whenever you look at the searches, whenever you get to know how your user is looking for your product or is relating to that need, you can also start thinking about your strategy overall. Okay? So wrapping up what I was saying and what we are going to deep dive now, again, the full funnel. And I think it's pretty clear right now why we need to think full funnel, plan full funnel, and of course execute full funnel. So going very, very quickly through it, what we usually say is that the user should see your brand, your product, care about it, and of course do, because we also want to drive action. Okay? Deep breath, because now you're going to start deep diving on the product itself. Just a disclaimer, we have a huge menu of products at Google. Me and Nima, we have done a little bit of selection to bring you or the newest products or the ones that we think that speak the most with the season. Again, please, if you have questions around it or if you want to know more about other products, you can always get in touch with your Google team or use the Q&A space that we have ahead, okay? So to start with the deep dive with the products, I'm going to kick off with YouTube and the True View for Rich product. The True View for Rich product, as the name says, is a product that has the objective of rich. So we are saying here that the objective of this type of campaign is to deliver effective impressions to the users, meaning your video, your message. And because of this objective, the way or the bidding strategy, the way we buy it is on a CPM basis, cost per mille or cost per thousand. And of course, we are talking about YouTube, which is the industry leading viewability and audibility platform, meaning that we know that whenever the users are there, they are either watching something, learning something new, so we know that we have the full attention of the user. So that's even why I mentioned that the impressions that we are delivering, they are effective. Because of course we are being positioned, or we are positioning our message in a moment where we do have the user attention. Okay, so TrueView for Rich as an awareness format on the upper funnel strategy. Okay, still on the upper funnel strategy, we have also display on a CPM basis. So again, CPM, cost per mille or cost per thousand. And here we can do exactly the same strategy. So think about positioning your message across GDN, which is a huge network that involves more than 3 million of websites and apps. And then something super interesting here, actually two things interesting on top of display CPM. So imagine that display CPM is this strategy where you're aiming for rich, right? We are also buying impressions to show the message. Now, two things that are super interesting here is the first one is the responsive ads. So again, we are talking about 3 million websites and apps. We are talking about inventory sizes of all kinds. So responsive ads is a way that you can upload your assets, your images, the description of your service, your product, your headline, and then to try to fit or to try to reach as many places as we can and not give you all the operational work that it involves. What we do is with responsive ads, we grab those assets and we mix and match those assets to fit all of these inventories and give you rich. Okay, this is the first thing that is interesting on top of display CPM. The second one is all the audiences. So not only Google audiences, but I just mentioned first party data. So also your audiences. So think about how you can even play a little bit with the strategy here. You can use Google audiences, in-market, affinity, etc. to build one message to people that are interested in a specific topic. But you can also use your first party data. So imagine that you want to deliver a specific message to users that have been to your website or people that had an interaction with your website. You can also do that because on the first party data side of display, you can use your Google Analytics lists or even customer mesh. That is something new that we have on GDN already launched. Okay?
Fantastic. It's exciting to see all the things happening in YouTube and display, and it's definitely very important to have as part of your strategy going into the holidays. So just to cover some news around search, this year we launched Target Impression Share, which is a new smart bidding strategy. And the cool thing about Target Impression Share is that for the first time, you can actually tell our algorithms or tell our bid strategy, I want to optimize for being in the absolute top. Now, what does absolute top means? It simply means that I always want to be number one in the search results, in the top. So that's why it's called absolute top. You can also optimize for being on the top of the page, so you're among the first 3 or 4 results being showed, or just on the page as well. Now, the reason why I think this is really cool is because it gives us some new possibilities within search for branding. And that's not something we always speak so much about, but something where I feel like there's a huge opportunity to leverage, especially in the holidays. So just to give an example, like I'm a huge fan of Magic. I'm probably going to buy a Magic set this holiday.
And that's something I want to see.
So you can imagine if you're like a magic store, right, and you want to get out there, you want to be present to all of your fans and all of the people who are gonna buy magic sets, which probably isn't that many. Then what you can do is you can say, well, I'm gonna use target impression share, and every time someone searches for magic set or magic school or other really cool things, then I want to be in the absolute top. I want to be number one, because then I'll ensure that my brand is always associated with magic. But of course, there's probably better examples. Maybe you want to make sure that within your vertical or within your industry for a certain product or service, during the holidays or during Black Friday, even if people just search for, let's say, what could a product be? Do you have any ideas of what people could buy during Black Friday?
Cosmetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthias, do you have
not so much?
Yeah. Matthias was he was seconds away from saying it. Anyway, joke aside, but then you might say, okay, like we want to make sure that we are present on sustainable cosmetics. People searching for sustainable cosmetic as one example. So we want to optimize for always being number one, or for always being in the top among the first search page results. So it's a very interesting product. It's a very interesting bid strategy solution, and you can think of many creative ideas around this. But what I really want to emphasize is this is great for branding. It is like the perfect tool to make sure that you're not only present on your brand, but you're also present on the keywords or the products or services related to that keywords that you really want to be associated with during these days.
What I get from what you're saying is we can really use search to also take care of a full territory that is within our brand.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. So we can use this for branding, which has previously been a weak suit of searches.
Yeah. So it's amazing, and think about it when you're making a strategy, or when you're thinking about YouTube and display as well. What is the message you want to get out there? You can also tie that to search with target impression share. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so that was a wrap for the awareness part of the funnel.
Yep.
Now we are going a little bit lower funnel, talking about mid-funnel strategies. And I am particularly super excited to also talk about discovery campaigns. I also know that you were very well planned, because we also do have a session on discovery campaigns later on this week. But I just wanted to touch upon it because it's a new type of campaign that we launched a couple of months ago. And the reason why I'm super excited about it is because it comes to cover a gap that we had on the browse and discovery behavior of the user. So again, relating back to all of the stats and the numbers that we have shown, the user needs to spend time with your brand, and 96% of the time is spent running across platforms, social media, YouTube, reading emails, etc. And discovery campaigns is literally for that kind of behavior, that type of user time. So discovery campaigns is basically a bundle of 3 inventories. The first one, Gmail, that you might have already heard because that's something that we already have, and other 2 pieces of inventories that are new. One is the YouTube home feed. Whenever you're scrolling down, you see in recommended videos, you can see the ad there. And the third part of inventory that is something new is the Discover feed. Discover feed is on your Android. That whenever you have the flat screen on the Android, you swipe right, you have the news and articles related to your interests that are showing to you, and there you will have your ad. If you are an iOS user, you will find your Discover feed inside your Google search app. Okay, so as I said, very exciting new product, new launch, because we are tackling down this browse and discover kind of inventory. Super interesting because it is performance focused. So whenever we are creating a discovery campaign, you already need to set up a CPA, and you can also layer down audiences, both Google audiences, as I have just mentioned, in the display CPM, in-market, topics, etc. Also your first-party data. Again, another possibility to build your strategy, personalizing messages, working on prospecting, etc. And just to give you a sneak peek of how it looks like, discovery campaigns, they have one image asset or a carousel where you can upload more than one image and the user can walk around it. So as the asset, one single image, you have full control of it. It's not a responsive ads or a responsive ad. Also the headline and description. And it's a super native visual. It literally takes over the screen either on YouTube home feed, on the Discover feed, after the engagement on the Gmail ad. So also a pro tip here, if you're planning to launch your discovery campaign, think about your asset as being literally the image that will show up on the phone. So plan it to be appealing, to be beautiful, because it will seem very native to the content. Okay? And that was our mid funnel. Now I will start walking a little bit more towards the lower funnel, already focusing on the action that we want the user to have. And I will shift a little bit from display to YouTube again to talk about True View for Action. And actually True View for Action is a very interesting, it's not that new, but it's still a new product that we have, because YouTube is always known and is always considered to be only upper funnel. And True View for Action comes to work True View on a low, or YouTube on a lower funnel strategy. And the reason why is because, as the name says, it is intended to drive an action. So I know that you can see on the mock, it has just changed, but now you can see that you have the video playing. So it's still a pre-roll, as we call it, because it appears before a video, but right behind it, or the mock's changing so I can show, but now you have the button, see the blue button. So right beside the video, so right beside the pre-roll, you have a button that is leading to an action. It can be shop now, check it out now. It will literally bring the user to the action you want the user to do. It can be a sale, it can be a valuable action on the website, it can be a form subscription. The way you are going to set up the campaign really depends on your goal. The important thing to mention here is that this is a format, this is a product that has a performance intention. Therefore, you need to have a conversion, to have a goal or a valuable action on the website so you can set it up, because this is what the campaign will go for. Okay? Still on the do, and on the campaigns that go for a specific goal, we have Smart Display campaigns. Now, Smart Display campaign is actually the first automated solution we ever had on display, and it is automated because it means that literally everything is automated. So the bidding is automated towards a CPA, meaning towards a conversion, a goal, valuable action. The targeting is also automated. Because we are going towards that conversion, it means that we rely on machine learning and all Google signals to define who is the best audience to reach that goal. And also automatic creative. So I have mentioned in the beginning of the session the responsive ads. And within Smart Display campaigns, we work with responsive ads because, again, we have a target. We are using all the signals to go for that audience that will give us this CPA, this conversion. So we need to be ready to fit our ad in all of the possible places, right, to talk to this user. So here we are also talking about the responsive ads. You upload your images, your logo, description, and headlines, and the system will mix and match all of these assets to go for that goal, that audience, in the spaces where we can talk. Okay? In a nutshell, you as a client agency, you provide your target CPA, your daily budget, and the creative assets, And then, as I said, because this is an automated campaign, you will have from it access to more GDN inventory, because we will be able to go through all of the possible spaces. We are going to deliver to you the right bid for the right users, because we will be looking at all the audience signals that we can see, and as I mentioned, a creative build for each auction, because we will also be able to build on that responsive ads. Okay. And then something that shouldn't be new to you as well, dynamic remarketing. So dynamic remarketing is the very lower funnel on display, speaking about display, and it gives us the possibility to understand what kind or what are the products that the user has visited on the website, and then we can show this ad back to this user, but with a personalized message on that case based on the product. I know that we are also having a shopping session later this week, and probably you're going to touch that whenever you're talking shopping, but dynamic remarketing works using the Google Shopping feed. So if you're wondering, okay, but how do you customize the ad with the product, and how do I link the product with the user? Because everything is interlinked with the Google Merchant Center and the shopping feed. Okay, so also important to mention that to create a dynamic remarketing, one of the pre-requirements is to have a feed. Today you can have, or you can use your Google Merchant feed, Google Merchant Center feed, but you can also create a custom feed. Right now we even have feed for hotels and other services. So I just wanted to bring the idea, and then of course if you have any specific questions on dynamic remarketing for other services, let us know and we will be happily answer it.
Okay, that was very interesting. So now we're gonna move further down the funnel to search and actionable product solutions that we have available. And just an FYI, if you have any questions or anything that you feel haven't been answered, we have an FAQ in the end and a live chat as well. So feel free to ask the questions or whatever might be top of mind as we're going through the slides. But yeah, DSA, also known as dynamic search ads, it's one of my favorite products in search, and one that is going to be a very effective solution during the holiday and peak seasons coming up. And the reason why is because that people have always been searching for information. I mentioned that in the beginning, but the way they search are constantly changing. Yes. And what we see is like that 15% of all searches or queries are new every year. And what does that mean? Well, that could mean that in the past a lot of people have been searching for makeup or cosmetics, but now people might change their search behavior, or the curious, they might be that they're now searching directly for illegal long eyebrows, right? And you might not have that keyword in your account, which means that you are not eligible to show your ads when people are searching for that. And that's really where DSA, or dynamic search ads, becomes very effective, because it's simply adding a DSA ad group to existing campaigns will make sure that you pick up on all that long tail traffic. So if you have that product in your store, DSA will make sure that you're gonna automatically show a relevant ad for that product in the search results. We have a great support article as well if you're new to DSA. If you're not new to DSA, make sure that your setup is complete. I know from experience that the recommendations tab, maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, has some suggestions or ideas if there's any opportunities that you're missing out on. And Matthias, I know that you work with DSA a lot, and a lot of your clients are using it. Do you want to add anything on top of this?
Yeah, I think it's one of our best products within search, because it takes away some of the maintenance you have to do, because you don't have to create new ads for every single landing group all the time if you constantly change your website. And especially in retail it works really well, but also for finance clients, where we can see that there might be new articles they publish all the time, or there might be some areas of their website that aren't fully covered. DSA really makes it easy to maintain, and also ensure that you cover every single query that's relevant to your website, so you don't miss out on traffic, and you you have the least amount of maintenance to actually upkeep a lot of new websites.
Matthias, I know that a lot of your clients are using DSA and are having a lot of success with it. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on what are your thoughts on DSA and why do you think it's a great solution for our customers?
Yeah, I actually think this is one of the best search solutions we have right now. In finance, a lot of clients use it if they publish a lot of new sites, or just in general to keep the maintenance down, so you don't need to add a new ad every time you make a new landing page. And as the slide says, we have 15% of queries are new every day. And also, if you're in retail or some of these other types where your website changes a lot constantly, this is just a great way to make sure that you don't have to add new ads all the time, but also just keeping the maintenance down. Especially if you have very large websites, you can actually make sure that you cover a lot very quickly if you need to build up new ad campaigns, and then later you can use some of the reports that it gives you to also build ads that are more specific for some of your higher level queries.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and I really like the idea when we talk about upper funnel. So as you mentioned, Matthias, if you're publishing articles or like blog posts that are inspiring, like upper funnel, like ideas for Christmas, or how to like wow your wife with a present she'll never forget again, then if
so
you
you're
have
preparing right now.
yeah, if you're publishing those kind of inspirational articles to drive actions further down the funnel, and then using DSA, it will actually crawl those pages and then make sure that you appear when people are searching for like makeup or gifts for my wife or whatever it might be. And just to also mention it, you can also exclude, of course. So you can exclude the blogs, you can exclude the articles. So it's really a customized solution for your entire website. And I really recommend to have a look at it. It's brilliant, and it ties so well to what Nina has been talking about with how to make sure that you're there and you inspire people and you drive action. So that's DSA. If you're not doing it, like make sure to like note it down already now. I need to follow up on DSA. If you're doing it now, make sure that you check the recommendation tab inside Google Ads and see if there's any suggestions on how you can improve your existing setup.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then I'm gonna move on to the next slide. It's still search, it's still action, and we're still in the bottom of the funnel. This is something like working with search and working with clients across Northern Europe. I get the same question every year, and I'm always excited when I get the question, because advertisers, they come and they ask like, what can we do? Like, how do we make sure that we're really well prepared for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holidays, just the peak season in general? And I always say the same thing. Make sure that you have like the fundamentals under control. Like, you need to cover the fundamentals, because that is just the baseline for good performance. And what is the fundamentals? Well, in search, it is like make sure that you're useful, right? And really what that means is like make sure that you're relevant, right? And we always say like have 3 to 5 ads in your ad group, or make sure that you have 3 to 5 ads in the ad groups that are driving most conversions if you're limited on time or resources. And the reason why, and it all ties back to users when they're searching. If on Black Friday all your competitors have ads that include Black Friday or are relevant for people searching or having queries for Black Friday, and you don't, then the way our algorithm works is simply saying how much are you willing to bid and how relevant is your ad, right? So your competitors are going to have relevant ads, which means they might outperform you. So really that's what it comes down to. Make sure that you have a lot of ads, 3 to 5 ads. Make sure that they're relevant to the holiday seasons or the peak seasons or whatever is important for you to be on top of in the incoming quarter. You have 3 to 5 relevant ads, and the same thing with extensions. We have promotion extensions, right? So if you're running Black Friday offers or Cyber Monday or Christmas holiday offers, use the promotion extensions. Make sure that they're enabled. And then the last thing is that you need to make sure that your ads are tailored. And in the next slide, I'm gonna show you how you can do that at scale and very personalized. But I just want to make sure that you really get why this is important. Like, at the core, we have people looking for information, and we need to make sure that you're providing that information, right? You need to make sure you are as relevant as possible. And I know, Matthias, this is something you and we have been working on this on many of your clients. Do you wanna give some examples or talk a little about elaborate on like why this is so important?
Yeah, especially in some verticals where you become where there's so much competition. It's very important to make sure that the ads are personalized. There are millions of different queries even on Black Friday, and some of them have the tiniest variances. So if you create, and I know Nima is going to talk about exactly how you do it, but if you create certain ads and use the ad customizers and everything to actually make sure that the specific ads are more relevant to the queries, you're more likely to get out of the auction at a cheaper level also to have a good ad for that specific query. And this also ties super well into what we talked about just before with DSAs, where you can create relevant ads that are actually relevant to that specific query, where your normal text ads might not fully be as specific and tailored for that message.
Yeah. So again, a side note, make sure to add relevant ads to existing ad groups. Even if they have 3 ads already, if you have holiday specific offers or promotions that you're running, make sure that you at least create 1 or 2 ads that are relevant in terms of those offers. So just a quick summary again. Make sure that you have relevant ads, make sure you use the right extensions, and then once you got that covered, then things become very fun, because then you can take things to the next level, which I'm going to show you how to do in the next slides. But please don't try to take things to the next level before you cover the fundamentals. So I love when people ask me, like, how can we do better? And there is one specific way when you cover your fundamentals that you can take things to the next level, and that is using ad customizers. So ad customizers can be a bit advanced. You have to put in a feed, and you have to work around some use cases and stuff like that, but it's not rocket science. So if you sit down and you spend a few hours on thinking about what is it that you want to do and what are the different ways that you can use ad customizers, it actually becomes very easy, and it's a fantastic way of becoming like creative at scale with your ads. So what is ad customizers? It simply is a solution that allows you to customize your ads at scale. To give an example, it might be that you're running online sales and you are running an offer during Black Friday. Then you can say, in this time period, then change my ad and include a countdown saying there's 20% discount on magic sets or on makeup or something else. There's 20% discount and there's 2 days left, and there's only 5 of them left now, right? That is a really relevant ad, but you don't want to sit and update that ad every day, right? And that's where ad customizers come into play. You can actually tell, like, you can, in a way, you can program through a sheet that you create and say, during this time period, I want to make sure that there's a campaign code in my ad automatically, that there's prices, there's delivery options, there's product names, there's availability, how many items is left. So when someone is searching for something, we automatically update those ads based on the offers or promotions that you have. I think this is an amazing solution, and if any of you want to add anything on top of that, feel free.
No, I think you covered it really well. Just, you can use it for so many different things, especially within Black Friday. It's super relevant to show some of maybe the prices that you can pull from the feed, product names that are relevant to this specific search. There's a million different things you can do with it, but it just creates a very good ad for that specific query without you having to write out a million different ads. So it's the perfect solution, I see, on top of DSAs, to also drive drive a lot of specific demand.
Yeah. And I think it's also a solution that allows you to become very creative as well, right?
Yeah.
So I know, like, urgency works so well, right? So imagine having the countdown and the number of items left. So again, this is really something where I encourage you, if you cover the fundamentals, if you feel like you have like the whole funnel is under control, this is a way that you can take things to the next level. And it's easy to make. So you don't have to make something that's super sophisticated. You don't need to be a developer. You can create a Google Sheet and then just start with the simple things, right? So it could be like, in this date period, have like let's have like the price in it, right, or the delivery options or the availability of stuff like that. So it's really cool. So the examples I've just talked about now is if you're an online store only, but you can also use ad customizers if you want to drive online to offline, and that is also very cool because you can actually program in the ad customizers and say, let's imagine that I'm walking around in Dublin, right? So if the person is in Dublin and is within this distance from my store, then you customize the ad. Instead of showing the ad that you were originally going to show, you use ad customizer and say, hey, the product you're looking for, it might be golden earrings for my wife or something else, is actually, it's on stock, it's nearby, 600 meters away, and you can put in the name of the store, you can put in the opening hours, you can say that it's in stock, and really like emphasize, okay, you just have to turn a right and then we have it in stock and we're closing at this time. So really driving like online to offline, and you can do based on the device, the location of the user. It could also be that the user is searching for a gift in a certain location that they're going to buy something in. So I think there is so many different use cases and you can have a lot of fun with this. Again, read the documentation, the Google support articles, just search for ad customizers, and then like it is very easy to get started with, but it does require like a little playing around if you don't have developer resources at hand. Yeah, so I'm just gonna move on now to our last slide. In a nutshell, what we talked about now, and that's like full funnel. Like make sure that you have the see and the care and the do, like upper funnel and the mid funnel and the lower funnel. And Nina, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on this.
Yes, I think that the main message here is, as I said, full funnel is essential for a user, from a user perspective, from a business perspective. We have plenty of options for you to tackle that down. What I also think is that, of course, you need to see what makes sense to you, to your business, but also I think that the main message is how you can take advantage of the possibilities to play around with all the tools that we were given for you today. So I think that that's the message.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and this was the first session in a series this entire week. Thank you, Nina and Nima. Thank you for showing up. But
thank you for having us.
We have a few questions as well that we're going to run through afterwards. The feedback box on the right side, will be available just about now. If you have any feedback for these sessions, we'd love to hear it. So please do share also for all the other sessions that you're going to watch. We can use this to guide us the next time that we're doing these, and also to make sure that it is really relevant for you. If you want to see more of these episodes on holiday readiness, make sure to watch the videos on this platform. Tomorrow's session will be drive store sales with omnichannel bidding. But let's move to the questions. So these are some of the questions that we get relatively often, and we have some really good answers for. We also are, as we've said a few times, we do have the live Q&A at the bottom of this video. Please use it. We're going to stick around for about 20 more minutes, so we're going to answer it there. If you don't see your question answered and we're not after the time period is up, please reach out to your Google account manager or Google contact person, and they'll be happy to reply to you as well. But let's move to the questions. So the first one is, if I'm creating Black Friday specific ads, should I also pause my regular ads on Black Friday and Cyber Monday?
Absolutely not. And the reason why is
short.
And not only for search, you can use it for all of your ads.
Yeah. So I'm just going to elaborate on search. And the reason why I say absolutely not is because this is a common misunderstanding. So what's going to happen is that you'll have people who are searching for products. They will search as usual, but you have a lot of people who suddenly got to have new queries that includes Black Friday, Christmas, and so forth. And if you only run with the Black Friday and Cyber Monday or whatever it might be ads, and you pause your regular ads, then you're going to miss out on a lot of searches because you're now no longer eligible to run on those queries. So it's very important to think like these ads are not competing with each other, right? They are not in competition. They're just, some ads are going to be relevant for some queries and other ads are going to be relevant for other queries. So that's why have as many ads as possible running, so you're relevant. So when someone is searching for something, Google will automatically make sure that the most relevant ads shows. And if you pause your ads, you might not show in queries that are important for your business. So just to rephrase, please do not pause your ads. That doesn't help. Just keep the ads running and add the new holiday ads to your existing ad groups.
Yes, and can I just add from a display and video perspective? I sign on what Nima has just said.
Thank you.
But ideally, of course, we would have the new ads coming in. And then on a creative perspective, my also suggestion is, of course, to think about how this message plays around all the platforms, because we are planning in different products and platforms, but the user is one. So also from a creative perspective, how do we unify the message, the language, the visuals that we are having everywhere?
Yeah, I think a really good way to look at it is you will always have your normal traffic that comes in on any different day, but then the incremental stuff, Black Friday is one of the busiest days on search and all of our platforms. Yes. The incremental stuff will be on top. So the Black Friday specific ad creatives you're making is for Black Friday specific queries, but you will still have the normal searches, and they will be even higher. So really just create Black Friday specific ads if it's relevant for you, but make sure that you don't change much on the normal ads. It's except for maybe the bits and some of the other things that you need to do to capture that extra search query.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, and it's one we get quite often.
Yeah.
So, next question: audiences are becoming more important constantly.
Yes.
And what are some of the developments in audiences, and specifically also for Black Friday? What do you need to really take into attention?
Yeah, so audiences I have mentioned, but we have actually a new launch that is much expected. So literally in the past week, 1-2 weeks, we launched Customer Match on GDN, meaning that, again, you can use your first party data, emails, phone numbers, and other customer data uploaded on the platform, completely hashed, and then we use it to talk to this client. So the big news that Customer Match is launched on GDN. For Black Friday, I think that I would love to highlight custom intent. So you basically build your pool of audience based on keywords, URLs, and then we literally create it based on it. But also I would love to highlight again the importance of first party data. So we are talking about Black Friday, a huge demand going on. Of course, that the activity on search and everywhere becomes higher. So also having your first party data is a way not only to target these users, but to create strategies that can be more media effective, that can be message personalized, etc. So I would say that we have a couple of developments, but if you ask me as a display and audience specialist, what is the main message from audience perspective in Black Friday? First party data.
Yeah, super cool and very relevant to keep in mind. Yeah. We also, for the full holiday period, we have some really cool audiences that are nice to look into, that are made specifically for shoppers that are looking for holiday that are doing holiday shopping. And that's definitely also something you should keep in mind. But it's super interesting with the new audiences that we have just launched as well.
Yes, and you mentioned holidays, and that's actually interesting, because if you think about the first party data strategy, it doesn't mean that it works only one day, or it's literally how you can also use it for long periods or long-term strategies. So also think maybe how you can use the Black Friday boom to kind of capture this demand, create your first party data that you will use for Black Friday, but also you can use later on the next seasonalities.
And also one good strategy there is to keep as many audiences as you think makes sense on observation in your search strategies, and then you can use that later to either target your display and video ads or customize certain ones for different audiences. depending on what there is a big demand for in your search strategy. Cool. Our next question is, do you recommend using target impression share on brand or generic searches?
Oh, that's a good question. So, just to recall again, target impression share was this new smart bidding solution that made it possible to optimize towards being number one in the Google search results, or being in the top, or being on the page. And I think the question is really good here. I think it's so new, and we're seeing that a lot of our advertisers are having a lot of success with optimizing for their brand, making sure that they're always number one when people look for their brand. And I think it shouldn't be either or. I think, and especially now coming into the holiday seasons, it might be if you're publishing articles about like the best recipes for Christmas dinner, that you want to make sure that you're number one, your brand is number one when people are looking for that. Or again, like if people are searching for anything that is like a must win for you, or you must be present there. So you can use it both on your brand, and you can use it on generic searches. And I think if you're smart about how you do it on the generic searches, you can get some really good results, especially when we talk about full funnel and how to drive actions through the consumers that are curious now. So definitely both, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And how should I set my bids on Black Friday? I think that one goes across all of our products, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can kick off, because then you can wrap up.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Yeah.
But I think that, well, what I would say is Black Friday is a peak season, right? So of course you need to think that auction is going to be more competitive. On top of that, I would say, and then you can complement, but I would say that even more important than the bid, that of course needs to be a little bit more flexible or even aggressive, depends on how you put it on the sentence. But what I would say is be more aware of the budget. Like, one thing that we cannot have happening on Black Friday is campaigns, specifically search or dynamic remarketing campaigns, super performance oriented campaign being capped on the budget. Because it literally means that, and then I will hand it to you, but a budget cap on a search campaign literally means that the client is going to your store and your door is closed.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good way of putting it. And I think to add on that, common sense is the best approach here. So like, look at historically, how much did we increase? Like, how did the auction dynamic change, right? Last year, did the cost per click or did the cost per acquisition increase by X%? Well, we might expect more or less the same thing this year. And depending on how many resources you're putting into this, we do see that a lot of advertisers are sitting on the day and actually looking at stuff like, okay, yeah, but how many impressions are we losing due to rank on an hourly basis, right? And then you can get an indicator on like where are we positioned on the day or during the week. I usually say to all of our advertisers, you don't want to be in a situation where you start off weak. Like, get ahead of the competition, start out strong, increase your bids maybe by 10 or 20%, if that makes sense, because then you can always lower it. But you want to come into the auction strong, maybe even the day before, and then see, okay, well, you can adjust along the way. And all of our smart bidding solutions are more than capable to handle the spikes. If you have something that is just unusual, like 70-80% increase in the conversion rate within an hour, we also have launched something called seasonality controls that will allow you to tell the smart bidding algorithm on those specific days something unusual is going to happen, and this is what we're expecting in terms of change in conversion rate. But I wouldn't worry. Like, smart bidding is perfectly capable of handling it, and it will also take into account seasonality. And do you want to add something on top of that?
Yes. So on top of that, I just want to add that whenever we are talking bids and budgets, we understand that there's a number on the planning. But again, thinking the full funnel and thinking about media efficiency in the mid and long term, also try to take that step back from the planning and think what this will mean in the next seasonality. Again, I'm talking about audiences, but I'm also talking media efficiency, as I said. So what is a higher bid and maybe a higher budget on the day might mean that you're collecting audience that will later on be part of your next holiday or your next seasonality campaign that will help you to lower other CPAs. So I know that the way we put it how you increase bids to be more competitive and etc. might seem only cost oriented, but I assure you that if you take a step back and look at media efficiency on a bigger picture, it pays off on a mid long term.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the ROAS is quite nice as well on the holiday season and the Black Friday. So
Yes.
increasing the bids doesn't necessarily mean that you won't make more money at all. Yeah, I think that's the common sense, making sure that you're looking at historical data. That's probably the best way to approach how to set bids and targets coming into the holiday season.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything you need to take care of also just for the generic, the whole holiday period, or is it mainly on Black Friday you need to work with your bids?
Do you want to?
I think it's the full holiday, and it's not only because it's holiday. I think it's a constant activity as marketeers, right?
Yeah.
We are talking about how the consumer is changing. We have 15% of queries that are new every day. So we are in this dynamic environment. We cannot take it for granted, meaning we cannot leave the account there and let it happen. It's literally a constant work. So I would say that this is our daily activity, not
Definitely.
only for holidays and peak season.
Definitely.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much for sticking around for the questions as well.
Thank you.
We will be here for a few more minutes answering some of your questions, but also just to give you a full overview of the week. Tomorrow we have the omni-channel session where we're going to look into to what you can do to also get people in your store. We're going to talk YouTube and discovery, and Nina is actually doing that one on Wednesday. On Thursday we're going to talk mobile with a specific focus on apps, and on Friday we're going to talk about shopping and what you can do there to make sure that you're really winning the holiday season on that. But thank you guys so much for showing up, and thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
listening in.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays.